Hello everyone and welcome to the Impact Play, impacting more than just gaming. I'm your founder and host Mohammed, otherwise known as It's Yiku, and we are your one-stop news shop with the latest and greatest across gaming, tech, entertainment, sports, and music. We are amplifying voices from those respective fields and having their stories told here at the Impact Play. You can join us when we record the show live over at twitch.tv/the Impact Play and by clicking on that notification bell so you will be notified when we do go live. Later on YouTube, or even on your favorite podcast platform. Just simply search for The Impact Play. However you consume your content, wherever you consume it, we are there. The support keeps the lights running and keeps the content rolling. You can support us over at anchor.fm/The-Impact-Play/support or via Patreon. Also, recruit and above, get the show ad-free. Go to the recruit and above, have exclusive access to not only your post show, but they can even call in and be a part of the live show experience, plus early access and so much more. Learn more and become a Patreon supporter today at patreon.com/The-Impact-Play, or even by using our credit code, The Impact Play. We are an Epic partner, so with every purchase you make within the Epic ecosystem when you use that credit code, The Impact Play, we do get a commission to help support the show for the elevators to take us to no heights and no extra cost to you. Again, the credit code is The Impact Play. It is not case sensitive. It is not case sensitive, and it is all one word. So, today on. As for this recording, this is episode 168. We were covering Momocon 2022 as press and media for the con. So we are covering day 2 of Momocon, and this side of the coverage is for the interviews. So you might know them from one of your favorite animes, or even your cartoons growing up, ranging from Goofy to even Charlotte from Dragonball Legends, the mobile title. But nonetheless, let's get right to the interviews, and I hope you sit back and enjoy.
With fans. Now, individual episodes of any of the series that I've done, I have my favorites and everything just because of stretching the character, doing something new or fun. There's a lot of those, but I'd have to say a Goofy movie overall.
Mr. Allen?
Yeah.
Oh, you can, yes, you're close enough for me to have.
No, before I go into my question, I would just say that movie really impacted me a lot. Because growing up, I think I understood that relationship with my father similar to Goofy and Max when we had the rebellious side.
Right.
I think you learn to love your father the same way Max did with Goofy. So that's a movie I'm gonna watch with my son. Just to see his reception. But I was gonna ask about moving forward, with your stand-up. Would you describe your style more so clean, or is it observational? How would you describe
I did a lot of impressions, and I started in Dallas back in 1982. Did it for 5 years. It was the best training I ever had for doing voiceover, because stage acting, and I always tell students and people who want to get into this, stage acting is a little bit exaggerated, so people in the back can hear you, so you kind of do it a little louder. Movements are more grand than say in film. That's the way stand-up and animation are very similar. So I always tell students, if they want to get into voiceover, learn to be a great actor. Take acting lessons, especially stage acting, because you learn so much on how to say a line and everything from the audience. And you don't get that in a booth where it's just you and your microphone and a script. You just got to know how to get the most out of that line.
Ms. Renee?
I'm not sure how familiar you are with anime in general, but I feel like Amphibia is what you would call an isekai in Japanese categories, which is someone falling into another world and experiencing that. How familiar are you with the impact that Japan has had on some of the Disney on some of the Disney content that you've created? So Kingdom Hearts,
Oh, yes.
Amphibia, things like that.
Well, Kingdom Hearts is I think we came out with the first game in 2002, I believe. And it's the longest running series, as I understand, of anything that we've done. It's still, viable. It was interesting also in that it was done first in Japan, so I'm listening in my headphones to the Japanese actors. I'm listening to the Japanese Goofy, who learned by listening to me how to do the laugh and everything, and it's very odd. And I'm putting English words replacing the Japanese words, and I don't hear anybody else's lines leading in. It's quite difficult because there are thousands of lines and they're not linear. It's not like one following the next. You can get lost really easy. You've got to really depend on the director and everything. Amphibia, I love the reaction that people have had, especially today. I mean, people, the series ended like just about a week or so ago, and people love that. Like, I do a character named Hop Pop on the series, and I love doing that because unlike Goofy, I was stepping into a role that had a previous history. I got to come up with the Hop Pop and give him a little bit more of my take on it and come up with the voice, and the direction was flawless and the story was just, it was great. I just, that's definitely, it's like children. Goofy is my child and Hop Pop's my child. Which one, people say, which one do you like doing more? You can't even go there. It's just, they're both your children and you can love them both.
Yes, sir.
I was going to ask, how was the experience working on games like Kingdom Hearts 3 in particular? Like, we had a long stretch between 2 and 3, and I don't think Goofy really played a particular role. Did you ever think that you would ever see, did you ever think that you would see the opportunity to play Goofy in Kingdom Hearts again?
Yes, only because I knew that they had produced it in Japan, so I knew that they would probably be translating into English and it would be coming up. But there was a big time gap between, especially the second and third main game. But yeah, I felt that it would come back. You know, if it's so popular, it just always, they'll be doing more. Typically, I expected that, but you never know. From time to time, things get canceled, new projects come up all the time, and you never know what's around the corner.
Excellent. Mr. King.
So, you done Goofy for many years and many characters. Do you have any favorite lines from there? 'Cause I know I saw an interview where you like the Potato World. You have
Yeah.
anything since then?
Oh, Potato Land, you mean? Yeah, Potato Land. People ask me to quote that from time to time. Quite often they'll say, what's my favorite line from a Goofy movie? And it's usually when Goofy's asleep and how many cups of sugar does it take? How many cups of sugar does it take to get to the moon? And Max, 3.5. And he goes back. I had to do that about 20 some times to get it right.
Mr. Allen.
So I know that you worked on Space Jam, so I wanted to know if you had any like cool stories to share. Like, did you work with Michael Jordan like directly, or was it more so like everybody was separated in the booth?
Ivan Reitman, who produced that movie, was the animation director. He wanted to direct us, and it was a separate thing, so I never got to work with Michael or any of the on-camera actors directly. It was a big thrill for me. I had met Mel Blanc when he had done Roger Rabbit back very early. And of course, he's like a god in the voiceover business. I mean, we all knew his name as kids, and I used to watch Bugs Bunny and all of that. And to be able to do some of his characters in that movie, I did Sylvester, Yosemite, and Foghorn. I've done Bugs and Daffy and Robot Chicken. And so I was able to do some of those voices, and that was a big thrill because he was probably the #1 icon for every voice actor out there growing up.
Next. Do you have another one, Mason? Or Mr. Adrian?
Yes.
You don't just talk loud.
So, what is your favorite non-Goofy or Disney role that you have ever done?
Well, Space Jam is way up there. That definitely is it. I've done a lot of incidental voices too. I do a lot of background voices for movies over the years. Probably the most obscure thing I've ever done is in the movie Beauty and the Beast. I was a lot of the people attacking the castle toward the end. The most obscure thing that no one knows about is in the scene where Gaston is singing about decorating with antlers and all of this. He throws 3 eggs up in the air, and they go, look, 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 that's me. I'm eggs. So got the eggs on my resume. Other things that occasionally I won't even remember until I see the movie. Shrek 2, they had a party at the castle, and I did the announcing saying, Ladies and gentlemen, introducing Princess Fiona and Prince Shrek. And my son was with me, and he says, Dad, that's you. And I guess it was. I forgot. Don't ever know, but yeah, these little incidental voices are a lot of fun, and then a lot of non-Disney things that this movie Sing. I did a dog reporter in that, the Lorax, the Grinch, just little incidental characters are a lot of times kind of fun little nuggets that you, when you see the movie, you go, oh yeah, they used my take on that. Oh, cool. You never know.
So I know you did Robot Chicken too, and that's like very, very different from like Disney. Would you say that like your personal humor is more like a Robot Chicken, or more like wholesome Disney like?
Yeah, when I do, well, of course, a lot of the stuff we do at Disney is for like 5 and under, Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, that kind of thing. And I like edgier stuff. I was a stand-up comic for it. So definitely, yeah, Robot Chicken has, Amphibia has a lot of great lines that Hop Hop does. The new Mickey Mouse shorts is kind of a different style of Goofy than it is on what I call the traditional Goofy. And we were able to do things in those series that we'd never been able to do before. Goofy was a zombie in one thing. And I found that. I love Halloween, so I think, oh, good, Goofy's going to be a zombie. And that was so cool. And those scripts are wonderfully funny, and I love doing those too, because it's much more adult and a little whacked, and so am I.
We have time for one more question. Mr. Pugh said that he would like to ask the last question. Go ahead, sir.
You said you were stand-up before, so do you have any like stories of like embarrassing or funny set you ever did?
Embarrassing, or what was the?
Or funny set.
Oh my gosh. I started back in 1982 in Dallas with our house comic was a guy named Bill Engvall, who went on to great fame with the Blue Collar Comedy Tour with Jeff Foxworthy and everything, and Tim Allen and Roseanne Barr, and all sorts of guys from that era. Sam Kinison I knew. All of those guys were Texas comics, and it came through our clubs, and I got to learn from some of the best, I think. And I made me a Disney legend in 2009 along with one of my idols, Robin Williams, and that was a big thrill to get a chance to meet him. Yeah, the stand-up is tough. I gotta say, you're on a Friday night in some town, middle of Texas or Louisiana, Oklahoma or something, and they aren't in the mood to laugh. It could be really a long night, but you really, if you can survive that, I think you can survive anything in show business. Compared to that, yeah, voiceover is a dream. It's very competitive. It's tough to get a job, but once you get the job, it's a joy to do. And so I've been very fortunate. When I got the job of doing Goofy, I was still doing stand-up, and they said, well, you gotta be available or we can't use you if you're out on the road as a comic. We'll have to get someone else. And I said, I'll quit, I'll stay in town. I'd much rather do Goofy. I'm glad I did it. I guess it's like people going to the army or something. I'm glad I did it. I'd never want to do it again.
Man, whatever happened to the girl who sang Smile Bomb? Because I think that was like her song. She was just, the opening song was her, and then no one knew anything after that. That happened with her. So I was curious if you knew, if you have some inside information.
No, okay, so I also love YuYu Hakusho in a super big way. And my favorite story arc from the overall, I mean, that's a tough one, right? Because like answering anything is like, there was a comedian once that was asked what his favorite episode of the TV show he worked on was, and his answer was, it's like asking somebody what their favorite breath is, right? The one that gets you to the next one, because each of the stories kind of lead into like what the overall is. But I do really enjoy the Chapter Black Saga. I thought that was a really great storyline. I love the villain and the amount of effort and work everybody has put into every single one of the seasons. But it was kind of neat to break out Sensui's 7 personalities.
Yeah.
Thought that was a lot of fun and a fun little exercise with an actor. So that probably is. And let's see here. Oh, the Smile Bomb. Yeah, so the songs were actually put together by the producer at the time. And so I actually never met her. But it's such a great performance, and I'd love to hear anything she did again.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Next question.
I was gonna say, what is your favorite Yusuke one-liner?
Oh, that's tough, because Yusuke is such a jerk, right? And so the hang up there. But I got a funny story. My wife and I were looking for YuYu Hakusho type T-shirts that had quotes on them. We thought that'd be kind of fun. So she found one that said, you shouldn't talk, it makes you look stupid. So I'm wearing that, and it turns out that the folks at TSA do not find humor in that at all. So yeah, I think that'll be the first and last time I ever wear a quote from Yusuke. But no, I don't know, man. I don't think I've got, the thing of it is, I love the character, right? And all of the lines that he said. So whether he was telling Kuwabara, it depends on what finger he uses, or saying something awful to Genkai, you know, he just has a way about it.
Mr. Mason?
So you have the unique position to be part of a lot of great franchises, Mass Effect, Dragonball, YuYu Hakusho. Are there any franchises that you're a fan of, as well as being a voice actor of?
I mean, I'm a fan of all of this stuff. I think it's incredible to be a part of it. I count my blessings every single day, just that I'm lucky enough to just, you know, be living that life. So as long as I can keep assisting folks and telling stories, man, I think I'm good.
Mr. Q, did you have a question?
What is your big three for anime?
My big three for anime.
Yours.
Oh, all right, fair enough. Let's see, and I'll try to stay outside of things that I've worked on myself, but Bebop is absolutely my number one. I can go back and watch that thing anytime. It doesn't make a difference. I love that thing. Hellsing Ultimate is definitely another one of those. It's just a great show for me, and we'll go with Black Lagoon as number 3. I guess you could call me a bit of an old taku.
Mr. Muhammad, did you have a question, sir?
At the moment, no. Appreciate it.
Miss
Sorry,
Georgia.
it's delayed laugh.
Oh, no, he said a joke. And
Oh. One more question. Who's doing it?
So if you could offer any advice to any aspiring voice actors, especially since your career has gone for so long and you've done so much, what advice would you give them?
Oh, let's see. Any advice for aspiring actors? You know what? Don't give up. That's the beauty of this job. It can be, and it can also be the super negative, which is you get rejection a lot. The main part of this job is auditioning. It's not actually doing the work, and so that can be rough. And so whatever it's worth, there's somebody out there who's looking for your voice. Know that, trust in that, and keep putting your voice out there.
Okay, now we're going to interview Alejandro Saab, and we'll get started. Who would like to ask the first question? Mr. Q, you want to be first?
Let's see you again.
Nice to see you. All right, talking to the mic. Nice to see you.
Most questions I asked you from last time, so something new is what character would you like to voice if you could?
What character would I like to voice if I could? I don't know if there's a specific character, but I would say I would love to be a part of like Genshin Impact or Yu-Gi-Oh! Because I grew up with Yu-Gi-Oh! And it's one of the few things I haven't had a chance to be a part of yet. So.
Hey, so out of all the things you've done so far, what would you say is your favorite voiceover gig?
My favorite voiceover gig is the one I can't talk about yet. No. In all seriousness, man, it's tough because there's so many, and I know that everybody is like, I can't choose. It's my favorite. Like, they're all my children. There are just some that it's like, I think it depends like how I'm feeling that day. Like when it comes to comedies, my favorite is the show I worked on, Sleepy Princess and the Demon Castle. I voiced Twilight, and he's so ridiculous, and we had so much fun with that show. But when it comes to like what connects closest to me, there are like 2 shows. There's one called Horimiya, where I voiced Miyamura, and then there's this other one, which is a little more obscure that I don't know if too many people know. It's called Sarazanmai, where I voiced Katsuki. And both were just like realms where like folks don't usually put me in, because normally it's like, oh, that guy's the funny guy. He's the funny guy. And I'm like, sure. But both those like touch upon like very sad parts of people's lives where they're either going through like suicidal thoughts or like, you know, like just like finding acceptance. And it's just, I don't know, it just, I connected with that more than anything else. And I mean, then there's all the nostalgic stuff that I grew up with, being a part of like Dragonball and like Saint Seiya. So it is hard to say favorites, but I feel like it's, for me, it's like saying what's my favorite movie, and I'll be like, okay, cool, but like comedy, like action, like I always categorize it. Yeah.
Since Mr. Mason is not here, I would like to ask this question in his behalf, which is, what advice do you have for people who would like to be voice actors?
The advice that I would give folks starting out in voiceover or wanting to get into it is that, I mean, everybody swears that it's more about the voice. I would say it's more about the acting than anything else. But also, don't be afraid to play, because one of my teachers and friends, his name is Mr. Horvitz, he always taught me, it's like, voice acting is like playing pretend, you know? And when you're a kid, you're not like, you're not thinking every single line that you're doing, you're just having fun and playing pretend. So, yeah, just have fun.
Play pretend. I got it. Next question? Which one are you gonna go, Mr. Ahmed? Go ahead, Mr. Yu.
Yeah.
I asked you before, but since you're not here new, what's your big three for anime?
My big three for anime. Number one is Full Metal Alchemist. I put both OG and Brotherhood as like one unit. The number 2 and 3, I feel like it's constantly changing. But Bakano, I think for me, is definitely one of them. And yeah, and then it constantly alternates. Like I've said Steins Gate, I've said Code Geass. Yeah, that was tough. I can give you number 1. I can always give you number 1, and that's always Full Metal. Hasn't changed in like a decade.
I know you have like, you know, online ventures, so I wanted to ask you, like, how would you describe like Kagi Films?
Kagi Films, when I first started it, was pretty much just me being a kid, just trying to do whatever I liked, whether it be like making video game commentaries, reactions, like, you know, dubbing over stuff that I just honestly finding out what I wanted to do as a kid. And then eventually it became kind of like what funded my voiceover career, because I moved out, like I dropped out of college and then I moved out to Texas, but the only reason they did that is because I had Kagi Films. So if I didn't have Kagi Films, I wouldn't have a voiceover career, because I wouldn't have the funds to, because everyone's always like, oh, you have to have a 9 to 5 or like another job to support you, which is true. Thankfully for me, I had my own schedule to it, and I still do it from time to time, but I don't necessarily eat it. Now I just kind of do it for fun, whenever.
Any other questions?
Yes, I have a question. Mohammed for the Impact Play. Over your 10 years plus making content on the internet, when you take a look back of everything that led to where you are now, what is your feeling regards to everything that you've accomplished thus far?
Out of the 10 years of making content and everything I've done, I really resonate with the Hamilton song where they talk about you'll never be satisfied, because I feel like I'll never be satisfied, and that's why I keep thriving for more. Because like I remember when I booked Dragonball Legends, a buddy of mine who he just asked me, it's like, do you feel like you've made it? Do you think like you've peaked? And I was like, man, I hope not, because I if anything, this is the beginning, and I feel like it was. Because like since then it's thankfully been going uphill, but I just enjoy doing what I do, so I don't think I'll ever be.
Yeah, you're always hungry for more.
Always,
You're always hungry for the next one.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite line from one of your voiceover work you did?
A favorite line from my favorite voiceover. Well, again, it's like categorizing it. So when it comes to comedies, one of my favorite lines is we got to reference Metal Gear. And mind you, I've never played Metal Gear in my life, and I really want to change that, but it's the meme, it's like, why are we here? Just to suffer. We managed to sneak that into Sleepy Princess and the Demon Castle. They're in this carnival, essentially, and me as the Demon King, I'm just like, why are we still here? Just to suffer! And it was just ridiculous. But when it comes to like, one of the most memorable moments was for Fire Emblem 3 Houses, I voiced Yuri, and in the game at some point, spoilers, sorry if no one has played it, but the main character's father passes away. And if you can interact with the different like companions and you know all the students and stuff, and they each give you like different lines or advice. And Yuri, my character, when I was saying the lines, my friend's dad passed away. And when I was doing that line, I was thinking about that. Because it was very hard to convey what to say to them. So I was like, hey, I know this is out of nowhere, but like, just watch this clip, because this was for you. So, yeah, definitely that is one of my favorite things.
So speaking of video games, I know you haven't played them in a year, but what are some video games that you enjoy?
All right, let me tell you. So my favorite game of all time, and I will preach this game to death, is Psychonauts. Now Psychonauts 1 and 2. I can't put one over the other. But the game is all about the human mind. It's about this boy named Rasputin, funny enough, voiced by Richard Orbitz, who's my teacher, and he didn't know that at the time. And he's a carny. Like he's a kid who would work at the carnival. Like his family was a bunch of carnies, and he wanted to be a psychic. And in this world, there is a place known as Whispering Rock, and that's where they teach kids to become psychics. And essentially the FBI of that world, they're psychonauts. They're the psychic agents to help stop like the evil of the world. And this kid, his family hates psychics. So you have like 24 hours before they take you away from the camp to get all your merit badges and learn every single psychic move. And you go into the different minds of different people, and it's really cool. And one of my favorites is you go into the mind of a actor who's distraught because they've lost their muse. But in the game, the muse is an actual person. And they're just sad. It's like, can't you tell I'm depressed? And one of my favorite moments of that when I was a kid playing it, there's this guy who's just mean and ridiculing, and he's like, I'm a critic! And I'm like, man, that guy sucks. But then as I got older and I played it again, because I try to play that game every year because I find something new every time, I thought about it and I'm like, oh, that's in your mind. That's an internal critic. No wonder he's so ruthless, because we're our own worst critics. Man, this game is so clever. And then Psychonauts 2 came out 15 years later, and it's more of that, but instead of, it focused more on the different types of depression. And I was like, wow, it kind of grew up with the players who played the original. And I really resonate with that game. It's so cool diving into the human mind. Other than that, Persona. I love Persona.
So do my sons. They also really like Metal Gear, by the way. So I have time for one more question. You guys have one more question?
Do you have anything that you have coming up that you can tell us about?
That I can tell you about. I got a phone call the other day for a thing I can't talk about, but I'm really excited. Things I can't talk about. That is tough. That most of the things that are coming up are super hush, unfortunately. I mean, most recently, I got to announce I voice Mugino and Boruto, which is really cool, because I'm a longtime Naruto fan. So, other than that, I mean, yeah, everything is super NDA, unfortunately. I mean, if you wait a couple of years, maybe like Demon Slayer, my character ends up being important. Don't look him up. It is such huge spoilers. Don't look up Kaikaku. I promise you, you're gonna be mad. But just keep an eye out, because I can't wait how that's gonna look in the anime. Yeah.
Alrighty folks, that is our day 2 coverage of Momocon for 2022. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you guys are interested in sending us a radio mail or even feedback, you're talking any questions you may have for us, you can send us a radio mail over on the Discord server, leaving a voice note over at the anchor.fm/TheImpactPlay, or even by sending us an email to radiomail@theimpactplay.com. It may even be featured on a special radio mail segment or even our special episode. So thank you guys so much for making us a part of your day. We should join our community server over on Discord. Be sure to enter !Discord or even by clicking on that Discord link down below over on Twitch. But thank you guys so much. Thank you guys, have a great one. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Leave us a review or even just your feedback on what you guys thought of our coverage. Thank you guys so much. Have a great one, and until next time.